Hello, I am your host, Sylvester Larbock, and today I'll be narrating you a wonderful story from the treasury of children's classics. I'll be reading you a riveting tale of pirates, treasure, misdirection, and misdeception. I am going to read you Treasure Island by Robert Louis Steveson. I first set eyes on the tall, ragged old seaman as he approached the Admiral Benbow, dragging a battered sea chest. I was busy helping my mother manage the inn, and as the standard knocked at the door, I could hear him singing an old little tune. Yo-ho, and a bottle of rum were the only words I could make out. What might your name be? Said the staggering as I let him in. I am Jim Hawkins, I told him. My mother and I run this inn. One of the finest in all of England, I'm sure, he said. I helped him carry his sea chest upstairs to one of our guest rooms. You can call me Captain, he said, as he entered his room. I'll pay you a silver coin each week if you keep an eye out for a seafaring man with a one leg. His low-down pirate. He's a low-down pirate, nothing more. Sorry. I agreed, and several days passed before another man came to an inn. I did not alert the captain, since this fellow had both his legs. I'm looking for Billy Bones, said the bruised, burly stranger, as he stormed into the inn. You found him, black dog, yelled the captain, as he rose up from a chair in the corner. And I'll regret you did. Black Dog and Billy Bones rushed at each other, swinging their swords. The man known as Black Dog was no match for Billy Bones, and ran off down the road. Later that day, a blind man arrived at the inn and handed me a piece of paper. Take this to Billy Bones, the man said. I gave the captain Billy Bones the paper. He began to shake with fear. This is a warning, Jim, he gasped. Black Dog and his filthy companions will be coming back soon to take my sea chest. I'm going to hide it in here at the inn. I'll leave for a few weeks, and by then Black Dog and his buddies should have sailed off to look for me somewhere else. After I left Bonnie's room, I heard him lifting up some floorboards. I knew this was where he was hiding the chest. When Bonnie raced out of the back door, I quickly told my mother everything. She looked worried and upset. I'm sure these monies in this chest and Mr. Bones hasn't paid us yet, said my mother. We pulled up the floorboards and found the chest. I pried open the lid. There must be thousands of gold dollars and silver inside. Take only what he owes us and leave the rest, said my mother. I grabbed some gold coins, and a mysterious pocket of paper soon would learn the value of the pocket. Son, I'm certain Black Dog and his men are pirates, said my mother. They'll be back soon for that treasure chest. I know they'll be furious if they find and discover we took some of the gold. We must hide somewhere. It was growing dark. Outside, as we ran towards the woods, the pirates would not be able to find us at night. Among the trees and thick bushes, an hour passed before we heard loud noises coming from the inn. "The pirates are tearing the place apart," cried my mother. "I'm sure they found the treasure by now. What else could they be looking for?" I pulled out the pocket of paper from my coat pocket. I carefully opened it, and under the moonlight I could see it was a treasure map. "This must be what they're after," I said to my mother. "Someone marked the island on this map to show where a treasure was buried. I'll bet there's a lot of money buried there than was stored in that sea chest. Jim, you must take this map to Dr. Livesey, said my mother. "He'll know what to do with it." My mother and I knew we could trust Dr. Livesey, who also was the local judge. The pirates left the inn, and we never heard another word about Billy Bones. Perhaps Black Dog and the others had finally captured him. I walked a short distance to Dr. Livesey's house in the valley, and we found him out front. He had heard noises coming from the town and asked about it. There were pirates at the inn, I told him. They're gone now, but we're looking for this." I showed Dr. Livesey the treasure map and explained what had happened. His excitement grew as I told my story. "Do you know what this means?" said Dr. Livesey. "We are the only ones who can find the buried treasure. If the pirates had another map, they wouldn't have come after this one." The doctor quickly developed a plan. "I shall go to the nearest seaport, rent a ship, and hire a crew. You, Jim, shall be the cabin boy, and we'll sail as soon as we can for this treasure island." I was 16 years old, and I was excited to be going on a treasure hunt. Before I went to sea, I helped my mother repair the inn. She hired another boy to take my place while I was on my adventure. I joined Dr. Livesey at the sea town of Bristol. We had rented a fine ship named the Hispaniola. He also hired a captain by the name of Smollett and a one-legged man as the ship's crew. The man's name was Long John Silver. It was a name I would soon regret ever hearing. Long John Silver owned a tavern in Bristol. While Dr. Livesey was having lunch there one day, Long John told him about his many years at sea. Dr. Livesey thought Long John was a fine, honest man. He even hired some of Long John's friends from his Spadano's crew. A few days before we sailed, I saw the pirate Black Dog sitting in Long John's tavern. He must have seen me too, because he slipped away quickly. I asked Long John if that man was Black Dog, and he pretended not to know the name. If you say he's a pirate, I'll make sure he never comes in here again," Long John assured me. "I won't have thieves like him in my tavern." The day for us to sail finally arrived. I was suspicious of Long John, but I decided to tell Dr. Livesey and Captain Smollett about his suspicions until I knew something for certain. The crew members who knew Long John seemed to regard him more as a captain than a ship's cook, which only made me grow more suspicious. Calm seas and steady winds greeted us as we sailed from port. Only Dr. Livesey, Captain Smollett, and I were supposed to know the purpose of our journey, but several of the crewmen talked openly of our treasure hunt. I had suspected Black Dog had told Long John that I'd taken the treasure map. On our first day at sea, I discovered an unusual shipmate. "Pieces of eight. Pieces of eight! Pieces of eight!" he screeched as I entered the galley where Long John cooked and several crew's meals. Long John's parrot was greeting me. "Captain Flint is his name," Long John told. He sailed with me for 20 years. He knows more about the sea than most of the ship's crew." The parrot also served as Long John's lookout, as I would soon learn. A few nights later, I was having trouble sleeping and decided to go up on deck. I came across a large barrel with a few apples at the bottom and climbed in to grab one. Suddenly I heard the click of Long John's crutches on the wooden deck. He was headed into my direction, hobbling on one leg. The voice of a few other men became clear to me as Long John and his mates drew closer. I slid further down inside the barrel so I wouldn't be seen. "When do we make our move?" said one of the men. "I can't take it any more, Captain Smollett giving me orders. I say we do away with them now." "Arr! And if we can't find the treasure map, lad?" "Arr, and what?" growled Long John. "Will we wait till the treasure is safely aboard the ship? We take care of the captain and his local crewmen." I no longer had any doubts about Long John Silver and his mates. They were bloodthirsty pirates. I stayed perfectly still until I was certain the pirates were gone. My heart was racing as I scrambled out of the barrel and ran to Dr. Livesey's cabin. Sorry, frog in my throat. He was startled when I awakened him and remained on edge as I told him what I heard. "Jim, this is the first thing we must do is alert the captain," said Dr. Livesey. "We also must act like we don't suspect anything, or else we'll be attacked." We slipped quietly over to Captain Smollett's cabin and told him about Long John's plan. He arranged the pirates should suspect nothing. "We won't be safe if they'll think we're onto them," said Captain Smollett. Long John brought aboard 18 men. We can count on only 3 of us and 4 other men, so that makes 19 of them against 7 of us. Luckily, the few days passed peacefully. The pirates never suspected that we knew of their scheme. Then, on the 6th day of our voyage, we heard the shout we all had been waiting for. "Land ho!" bellowed a sailor from his post in his crow's nest. We finally arrived at Treasure Island. The captain decided to let Long John and some of the pirates go ashore in rowboats as they were pulling away from the ship. I jumped into one of the rowboats. "Jim, my lad, it's a pleasure to have you aboard," said Long John in a cheerful voice. I thought I could tell he was angry. I told him I was too excited to stay on the ship, but I really wanted to find out more about the pirates' plans. We were nearly on the beach when I decided I had better get away from these mangy characters as quickly as possible. I realized they would have no reason to keep me around, and every reason to do away with me. As we landed, I leaped from the boat and ran off through nearby trees. I knew it would be safer for me to spy on them from a distance. Suddenly I saw something moving in the bushes. I froze. It was a man. I feared it was one of the pirates. "You there! What are you doing here?" said the man. I could tell by his ragged clothes that he was a seaman who had been on this island a long time. I told him my name and explained the trouble I now faced. He looked shaken when I mentioned the name Long John Silver. "Milcon is my name," said the man. "I once served on a ship with Long John Silver, and I never despised anyone more than him. I can tell you there's not a soul who strikes more fear in the hearts of men on the high seas than Long John Silver." Ben told me that he was left on the island 3 years ago because he knew the ship's captain had buried a fortune somewhere on the island. The captain figured Ben would not live long enough to tell anyone about it. Ben also talked of a small boat he recently built. As he spoke, we heard the sound of men approaching. Ben ran off before I could ask him if he knew where the treasure was buried. I hid in the bushes as Long John and his men passed by. I could hear them singing, "Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum." Meanwhile, on the Hispaniola, Dr. Livesey would later tell me Captain Smollett reached the island, though his telescope, and discovered a small fort. The captain and Dr. Livesey decided to fill the large rowboat with food and supplies. And I heard from the island, with 4 loyal crewmen, they figured they would have better chances against the pirates if they had made it to the fort, especially if they took most of the rifles and ammunition. Just before the rowboat reached the shore, the pirates still aboard the Hispaniola began to fire the ship's cannon. "Row fast, lads!" yelled the captain. "The mutiny has begun!" Seconds later, a cannonball exploded 10 feet from the boat. The boat sank, but not a man was hurt. They waded to shore carrying a few supplies. Captain Smollett, Dr. Livesey, and the crewmen knew the sound of the cannon blast would bring Long John and his pirates running to their location. Just as the captain and his men were near the fort with the last load of supplies, they heard the pirates charging through the trees. "Hurry!" Captain Smollett yelled. Shout rang out from the pirates' rifles. "Get inside the fort and man your weapons." Long John had managed to smuggle several rifles ashore, and now he and his pirates were using them sooner than they had planned. But Long John would have to wait the pirates aboard the Spaniel to come ashore to give him the advantage he needed. Captain Smollett took British flag from one of the crates, ran it up the flagpole. Within minutes, a volley of cannon fire from the Spaniel began running down on the fort. Captain, sorely they are using the flag to pinpoint our location," said Dr. Livesey. His voice quaked with fear. "We must take it down." The captain was outraged. "Strike my colors? Never!" he shouted. "This will show those wretched sea dogs we don't give up. They will run out of cannonballs soon enough. Everyone stay at your post." The captain from the Hispaniola lasted only a few minutes. It did not damage. I was drawn to the fort by the cannon fire, and I remained out of sight long enough to fire. The captain and crew made it inside unharmed. I slipped past the pirates up to the southern wall and fought. Luckily, the crewmen recognized me and held their fire. Dr. Livesey approached me with a stern look on his face. "What were you thinking, Jim?" he asked. He was surprised that the pirates had not harmed me. I explained everything as the best I could, and the doctor seemed pleased when I told him about Ben Gunn. Soon after I finished my story, we heard a voice calling from the nearby woods. "Captain Smollett," yelled Long John Silver. "I have an offer I think you'll want to hear. Allow me to approach and speak my piece." The captain gave his word that Long John would not be harmed if he came to the fort alone without a weapon. Long John would not be harmed. Long John promised to stop the attacks if the captain would give up the treasure map. "Away with you, dog," hollered the captain. "If you find the treasure, not a man of mine will be safe from you and your filthy mates." With that, the captain ordered Long John to leave. "Prepare for the worst, men," said Captain Smollett. "We're in for the fight of our lives. They'll attack soon. We may be outnumbered, but each one of us has more courage than the lot of them put together." I was given a rifle and assigned to help guard the fort's western wall. I had not had much practice using a gun, but I took heart in the captain's words. I was certain I could at least help to scare the pirates away. The longest hour of my life passed before we heard the pirates approaching. Suddenly, Long John yelled, "You'll never get out of that fort alive." Guns shot immediately, hit all four walls of the fort. There were holes already in place for us to shoot through, but they were small and made it hard for the pirates to hit us. One of them climbed up into a tree and fired a shot that hit Captain. Luckily, the bullet only grazed him, and our return fire chased from the pirate from his perch. Soon Long John realized he could not take the fort on his charge, and he called off the attack. While Dr. Livesey tended to Captain Smollett's wound, two of them appeared to discussing a serious matter. Minutes later, the doctor gathered his rifle, climbed over the north wall, and ran off to the woods. Captain Smollett told us that the doctor was going to look for Ben Gunn. Dr. Lively knew that Ben Gunn would be a valuable addition to our side. He knew that the island better than anyone, and hated Long John. Having another person on our side would surely help our cause. I also had a reason to leave the fort. I knew I could use Ben's boat to reach the Hispaniola, and if I cut its anchor, it would drift ashore. That would give us an easy access. More supplies, of course. I would have to capture the few pirates who remained on board the ship, but I would worry about that later. I slipped over the wall and into the woods while no one was looking. Within an hour, I had found Ben's boat and began rowing toward the Hispaniola. By this time, it was dark enough so that no one on the ship would be able to see me. Approaching in the tiny craft, the sound of two men arguing greeted me as I came alongside the Hispaniola. They were obviously drunk, which made me feel better about my plan. They would be easier to capture in this condition. I cut through the rope holding the ship's anchor with a large knife. I carried for protection. The Spaniard drifted toward shore, but the drunken pirates were too busy wrestling and fighting to take notice. I grabbed the part of the rope still attached to the ship and used it to climb aboard. I was aboard for only a few minutes when the fighting stopped. I feared the pirates had detected me, but when I came upon them, they were lying on the deck. They must have knocked each other out, so I quickly tied them up. When the ships ran aground, I head back to the fort. I quietly climbed over the wall, made my way to the cabin where the crewmen slept. It was very dark inside. As I opened the door, I heard a cry that froze me to the bone. "Pieces of eight! Pieces of eight! Pieces of eight!" screeched Long John's pirates. The pirates had taken control of the fort. They quickly captured me. "Well, if it isn't young Jim," said Long John. The captain handed over the fort and the treasure map. The captain had handed over the fort and the treasure map. I guess the safety of his men meant more to him than the blooming treasure. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Long John told me how the captain gave in to the pirates' demands. In return, Long John let Captain Smollett and his men take some supplies and leave the fort safely. As Long John spoke, his pirates moved toward me with their swords drawn. "You'll not harm a hair on young Jim's head," Long John hollered. "He's worth more to us alive than dead. The captain and his men won't try to ambush us if they know where we've got one of their own." Early the next morning, the pirates set out to find the buried treasure. One of them held a rope tied around my waist to keep me from running away. We traveled through the woods and over rolling hills for several hours. "Shiver me timbers!" Long John, as he took at the treasure map. "This is it, lads. We found the spot." The pirates began leaping about, yelling and singing their strange pirate songs. But their mood quickly changed as they saw was a large hole in the ground. The pirates drew their pistols and swords, thinking Long John must have let the captain keep a copy of the map. "You must have betrayed us, Long John. You let the captain take the treasure so you could keep divided it within him, instead of us." Just as the pirates were about to attack Long John and me, rifle shots whizzed over their heads. Captain Smollett, Dr. Lively, and Ben Gunn had been waiting and began firing. When they realized I was in trouble, the pirates scattered in all directions, but Long John remained standing next to me. Dr. Lively explained to me that Ben found the treasure months ago and hid it in a cave. Captain Smollett gave Long John the treasure map so we could lure the pirates into a trap. We spent the next days carrying crates filled with gold and silver from Ben's cave back to the Hispaniola. We also kept a close eye on Long John Silver, who worked as hard as anyone. The captain wanted to take Long John back to England to stand trial for mutiny. We saw no more of Long John's pirates. Before we departed, though, we left some tools and supplies for the pirates who were hiding on the island. We set sail from Treasure Island. At the break of dawn, Captain Smollett steered a course for the nearest Caribbean island, where he would hire some more men to help us on the long voyage home. While the captain and Dr. Lively were ashore, Long John escaped from his locked cabin on the Hispaniola. True to his nature, Long John grabbed as much gold as he could carry. There was no sense chasing him after Long John, the captain said. We were all agreed we're better off being rid of him so easily. We arrived back in Bristol in great spirits. We divided the treasure among the original crew, and I returned to the Admiral Benbow Inn, where my mother threw her arms around me and cried tears of joy. The journey to Treasure Island had been the greatest adventure of my life, but being back home filled my heart with the greatest happiness. Tune in next week. And that was Treasure Island. Tune in next week for Swiss Family Robinson. Dear viewers, and be sure to like, and subscribe to my channel. This is your host, Vesatola Box, signing off.